What was the main reason that you decided to start a company and not like do anything else, so like get apply self for another job?
So for me, actually, the triggering event was when I was in my first year at university, and one of the professors asked who wants to be an entrepreneur. And at that time, I was like, yeah, sounds good. so I was starting to think about it, and at that time, then I decided that this could be a nice career opportunity. And as I said before, fortunately, some of the professors are flexible and allow you to also work on topics that are actually relevant and that you can use afterwards to start a company. So the desire was there, all the studies, and I did a few internships and also learned, how big companies are working. And for me, it became then very clear that I want to create my own company and ultimately also actually use what I developed during the PhD to, not just write a PhD thesis, but actually really bring it to the market.
And I mean, you had two co-founders. So how did you start first when you were 3, or how did it begin?
Yeah, so it's was like that. David, who is now our CTO, he actually was my master student. So he was developing the first lenses together with me. And Mark, who is running our marketing and sales, he actually is studied with me electrical engineering. So we are all coming from the same, more or less similar background. From ETH, electrical and mechanical engineering. And Mark, while I was doing a PhD, was working as a consultant, gained their very valuable knowledge of how to create a business plan, how to create a strategy. And that was actually a very good combination for us to come together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now we are in Dietikon. Did you also start here, or what were the first office you had?
No, the first offices were actually at EMPA. So EMPA has a business park called Gladtech, and we were actually the first company there. And it was for us a win-win situation because at the beginning we didn't really have money. So I still remember that we were discussing for a long time if you want to buy a milling machine for 9,000 Swiss francs, but that was a lot of money at that time. And at EMPA we had access to many of the different equipment that you normally have at ETH. So as a company we are very heavy investment base, so we really need the equipment to do our chemical analysis to manufacture our products. And that was an excellent location for us to actually have offices, but also to have everything that we needed in the first year.
Yeah, you already mentioned some difficult decisions you made at the beginning. What were afterwards, or like also the beginning, like the biggest challenges you faced?
I mean, of course, at the beginning, you always ask yourself how to finance this. So the good thing was we were young, we didn't have families, we just had great ideas, and we didn't need a lot of money. We were used to living as students, not having too much money. But of course, it was not so easy to do technology with a limited budget. So that was the first challenge. We were fortunate that our business plans seemed to be very convincing, and we won some of these competitions, for example, the venture competition at ETH. And that gave us a good start to actually convince the first customers, and that was actually one of the biggest challenges at the beginning. Now we are very unique. You cannot buy our components from someone else. So if a company decides to actually use our components, then you know, they are stuck and they rely on the fact that we actually can ship. And that was very challenging at the beginning because you know, we were a critical component in a system where maybe a customer makes 100 or 200 million revenue per year. So if we cannot ship, then we have a problem, but our customer also has a big problem. And that took some effort at the beginning to actually convince them that our technology is working, that it's stable, and that we as a company are actually trustworthy. And I think we managed because first of all, we have customers that are very entrepreneurial, that are like to take risks, but I think also because at the end we had very strong people that managed to convince the customers. And you asked me, you know, what are the biggest challenges at the beginning? I mean, besides finding the customers and the money, it was also to find good employees. I mean, you know, when you start a company, no one knows about you, but still we needed to have very talented engineers, and this was a big challenge at the beginning to get the word out that there is this startup that is looking for engineers. And fortunately, and it sounds maybe strange, in 2008 there was an economic crisis, so that meant that big companies were not hiring, or very little. So that was actually our chance to be able to hire very good talents. So it's not a bad thing to start your company when there is an economic downturn.
Maybe not a bad tip for 12 years later, huh?
Yes.
Okay, but you mentioned that you're winning this competition. Was this mainly because the products were unique, or were there other reasons why the business model was well thought through?
I think at that time people really realized that we are solving a real issue in the optics industry. So I mean, with our lenses, that was our first product. We can focus much faster, more reliable, and at the end, actually also at lower cost. And that convinced some of the juries and people that looked at the business case that you know, if we have all these benefits, there's a big market because you have cameras everywhere. I mean, photonics is and light is used nowadays in so many different industries and so many different areas. I mean, from medical applications to laser processing, you know, where you use lasers to cut material, to mark material, to actually do 3D printing of material. You have all the cameras, surveillance cameras. So it is at the end not just a niche application, but you basically have it everywhere where you're walking. I mean, you're walking around with your mobile phone, having cameras in your pockets all the time.
That's true.
And I think what is critical always is, you know, that you have the right team, and you want to build a company. And I think we were fortunate and lucky that you know, we decided to found the company together, and that I think also convinced many people.
Okay, and I interrupted you. What were the challenges in the recent years?
Yeah, in the recent years, I mean, as a company, we have grown quite a bit. So now we are close to 180 employees, and that growth also brings pain. So meaning, at the beginning we were free, we were in one room, we talked to each other every day, and I always knew exactly what the others were doing. And nowadays, people are distributed actually around the world. So we have a factory and engineering office in Slovakia. We have offices in Asia, in Taiwan, in Korea. And we have our headquarters in Switzerland. So, to make sure that everyone is aligned, understands where we are going, what we try to achieve, and ultimately also, being able to have the right leadership competencies. So this is not just for the team, but actually also when you start a company, I didn't have any relevant work experience besides doing a PhD, and that's something where of course over the last 13 years I could grow with the company, but every time you grow, then suddenly you face another another challenge, and that means you have to learn from others, try to figure out what is now the best structure, how to organize things the most efficient way. And ultimately also, as we grew as a company, we actually started to have bigger and bigger customers, meaning also higher volumes. And I think that was one of the challenges, to set up the systems and the technology and the manufacturing processes to actually be able to handle higher volumes at the quality that the customers need.
Mm-hmm. You just mentioned how we are spread over the world. How is the structure in each country, and why were the decisions made to put certain functions in other countries?
Yes. So the headquarters is in Switzerland, in Dietikon. So in Switzerland, we have basically global supply chain. We have the main R&D, so where we really develop our products. We have production for our lenses and other products that are using liquids, and also basically all other functions like finance and HR and all the supporting function and marketing and sales. So why did we decide to move to Slovakia? We were looking around to go to a location that is more cost competitive than Switzerland. And we were looking at China, at many different countries, and decided for Slovakia because it's relatively close. It is actually has similar, I would say, mentality as Switzerland. So the cultures are actually matching very well. And furthermore, they have good talents on the engineering side. And for us, since our products are relatively complex to build, it is not just trivial assembly. So we also need engineers that are actually able to develop processes, to understand complex assemblies. And that was an important decision to go to Slovakia and to have our second development facility, but also production. And in Asia, it's for us mainly sales offices right now. It's just, the customers in Asia expect very fast response. And they are very, very, they have a different culture. They want to have a response like in 2 hours. And that's something that is critical to be local, so that we can actually give the support that they expect.
Good. Yeah, you already touched some successes in the very beginning. What were the successes in 12 years you're most proud of, done with Optotune or yourself as CEO?
I mean, the thing that I'm always the most proud of is when I see a device, a product that is using something from us, especially when our component is critical. So, I mean, one of the nicest and at the same time not so nice experience was at the dentist. So our products are used in dental cameras, and so I was at the dentist, and then he came with his 3D scanner to measure my teeth, and I recognized the customer name and knew that there's something inside of Optotune that actually made this happen, that they could measure the teeth 3D. So this is always nice, or like at the eye doctor, you know, when you have eye exam, and you know, okay, now I look through something that Optotune is providing, and actually is the key enabling feature. So this is always nice to just see products that you know, have something from us inside. And I think this is actually also connected to our mission to enhance people's lives through innovation in dynamic light control. So we really want to, you know, help systems creators to create innovation that at the end benefits all of us. And that's what I'm most proud of. Of course, I mean, we have won in the past quite a few nice awards, like the Prism Award, which is the Oscar of the photonics industry. So that was a nice event because we didn't expect it at that time. Or also some other awards like the Swiss Economy Award, which is quite a prestigious entrepreneurial award. And that was an award not just for a business plan, but actually for our business, and that we succeeded as a business. And that was nice to celebrate afterwards with the whole team.
Yeah, speaking of emotional moments or moments with the team, what were special emotional moments or other moments you had during the time?
So for me personally, it's actually sometimes very small things, like when someone says, I like to work at Optotune. Because
I do.
No, it's I mean, my personal mission is actually to create interesting jobs, and that's something that you know, often it's hectical, and you know, as a CEO, normally you only hear the bad things and not the good things, because that's where you can actually have an impact and solve. And then just sometimes hear that you know, things are good and people like it, and that actually is nice for me.
Is there a reason why this is especially important for you, like this aspect of having created jobs that make people happy?
Yeah, I think it's at the end something that comes from my background. I mean, I know how it is to fight for a job. I mean, my family is not, I'm not coming from a rich family. I had a great childhood, but we were not millionaires or something like that. And this is, for me, it was always a dream, you know, to actually do some technology, some engineering, and actually being able to have a company that actually not only gives me the opportunity, but others, is something that is actually nice for me.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I mean, I can pretty much confidently say that you had success as a person and as a company with 180 people now. So what is, in your opinion, the, let's say, the secret of success, or important to be successful?
So from what I think is first, most of all, is grit. Never give up. I mean, there will be thousands of things that don't work according to plan. You always fail. And then just stand up and continue. Of course, don't bang your head till till you're dead, but think about, if you're on the right track, but maybe you need to do some adjustments, but then just continue and do it all the way. And I think personally also is to find your passion. I mean, too many people are working in jobs that they hate, and at the end, if you hate something, then you're also not good. And this is something that I think if you find your passion, whatever it is, I mean, for me it's engineering and technology, but for other people maybe it's being a gardener or something like that. And I mean, you can succeed in any job if you really like it and love it. And as a company, obviously, I mean, you need to have clear goals where you want to go, and I think also a plan of how you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned grit as a first thing.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you need to show especially a lot of grit?
Often.
Or...
I mean, at the beginning, when you don't have any money and you start a company, I mean, you often get rejection, and people ask you, are you crazy? Why do you want to make your own company? I mean, you have such an excellent education. You can go to one of the big companies and just have a good life. And at that time, sometimes you just have to say, okay, I don't care what the other people say. I will succeed.
Good. Yeah, a little bit, or you mentioned it already that you love to be engineer or to solve problems like this. CEO is of course a little bit broader, or became a little bit a broader job. What are the things that you personally love in your job as a CEO?
For me, it's that it's so diverse. It's so really selling the company, selling the products. That's an interesting aspect. And as a CEO, often you are involved in negotiations and for contracts. So sometimes it feels like being a lawyer. And to be honest, initially when I was studying engineering, I was like, oh, it's great to think about only the technical part. But I figured out that actually these aspects are as logical and as challenging as it can be to solve a technical problem. Because you have to be logical, you have to understand the things, but still have to find like a win-win situation for both parties. And then as a CEO, I mean, you are, besides this, a manager and a leader. And the nice thing is, besides all of these things, I can still be an engineer. So this is actually something that is great, because, our company is really about technology, and that's is a nice combination. And of course, I mean, you can make a real impact.
So to summarize, to solve problems.
Yes, exactly.
Good. And how would you describe Optotune's culture? Maybe it also changed during the years. I don't know.
I think the core is still there, and I think it's well described with our core values. So our core values are pioneership, positive mindset, respect, ownership, and profitable growth. So these are really the words that I think describe our culture the best. So we try to be leading on the technical side, but also, maybe not just technically, but how we do things. And I think when you're at the edge of technology, you need to be positive in your thinking. And I think this is very critical when you're working at Optotune, that you have this attitude, and we also try to select people that have this kind of attitude. And of course, I mean, respect, I think it's just a basic thing that everyone should have. and these are the things that I think are very critical of to how and things that are actually defining our culture.
Mm-hmm. Good. And do you like it, or what do you like about the culture?
Yeah, at the end, I think that it is bringing out the best of the people. It's. We work on challenging topics, and it's often stressful, and it's tight deadlines, and at the end, through this culture of thinking positive and working together and showing respect to each other, at the end we can achieve the goals together. So this is something that I think is the thing that I like the most. So I was once when I was a student in a large company, where it was a lot of elbowing, like the one that is showing off the most is the one that is winning, and this is something that I really don't like. And I think at the end, you should get promoted and be successful if you are really actually delivering. And that's something that I think is nice about our culture and important to me too.
And here on the topic, how do you perceive the, say, daily collaboration between the colleagues?
So, what I have to say is we often have quite a lot of time pressure. So it is not a holiday camp working at Optotune. But what I think is nice is that people really try to help each other. So it's often when you do engineering, you can make a plan, and then often something goes wrong, and then people try to help each other. And this is on all the different levels. Sometimes I also have some projects that are very time critical, and what is nice in that situation is that I know that the rest of the management team takes care, for example, of the other issues that are more operational, and that's something that is nice to feel, that you can rely on others.
You touched the topic, so how is it between the hierarchies, and how do people actually approach each other? Do they have to do a meeting or write or come directly to the office? So how do you perceive that?
At the end, with the size that we have, you need to have some structures. So yes, you need to have someone who is the leader, and you need to have a hierarchy. On the other hand side, I think the doors are open. I just had last week someone from production they had an issue coming to my office, and they asked, can I quickly talk to you? And of course, it's not every day that everyone is coming, but I think it's a good sign that everyone from all the different levels are daring to talk to me in the company, and I think this is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And of course, the doors are open. What's the case is, in every company, you cannot make everyone always happy. It's impossible. If you have 10 people, then maybe 7 people have this opinion, 3 have another opinion, and then you just have to make a decision that is the best for the majority and the best for the company.
Good. Maybe how can, just had some very positive topics, how can Optotune further improve in your opinion, maybe from a one side work perspective, or from another side from a business perspective?
So I think from the business perspective, it's we grew organically, so we grew for a long time without external money, and that basically led to different types of products. And where we are going now is more to standardize our products, so that at the end we can also have standardized manufacturing processes and lower cost products. So this is something that choosing the right technology, the right platforms, and then actually really executing this and bringing it to these standard products. That's something to improve. I think it is still something that we need to improve is on the process side. So as a startup, when you start, you have zero process. And everyone is basically freely creating stuff. And now as we grew, more and more structure needs to be implemented. And it's actually also something that is interesting. Maybe some people that joined us 10 years ago are not liking this. We implement more structures, but it's actually very critical for the happiness and for the efficiency of the company. Because otherwise suddenly someone is leaving, no one knows anymore where the information was, and you lose a lot of knowledge if you're not structured and you follow certain processes. So I think we have done already a good job there, but in the future I think we can use actually digital tools even more to further improve this without putting too much burden on all the people. Because you also don't want that everyone is just filling out forms and stuff and at the end not actually doing the work they are supposed to do. Yeah. And I think this is something that as a company we can for sure further improve, especially also now that we are more international than at the beginning. And there are thousands of little things that we can improve as a company, be it I don't know, events, organizing more events, helping people to further develop their talents, also making sure that we have internal trainings, we have external trainings. There's a lots of HR initiatives that are ongoing just to make sure that people can actually grow as the company grows.
Good. Yeah, I think we are starting. We have the Opto Academy now with many internal courses. Yeah, I'm looking forward to continue that in the following years. It's for sure a very important topic. Yeah. You mentioned events. I think this is also essential, which we missed from the Optotune culture. Maybe you can name some of the events, just that people get an impression.
Yeah, there are quite a lot of events when there is no Corona. So, like, the Friday beer, where the people on Friday evening just enjoy cold beer on our terrace. We have our ski day, which is close to my heart because I love skiing. So, and everyone that cannot ski can go walking on that day in the mountains, so it's also nice. Then we make some barbecues. We have our Opto Rocket, so we have our own space program once a year to shoot some rockets into the sky. So there are many little events, and of course also in the groups, people are doing interesting things like adventure rooms and stuff like that.
Sounds funny. So also after work. And maybe for a little bit more future outlook, what do you see? What kind of applications do you see coming in the future?
So we clearly see that as a company and as a technology, we are mature enough that we can really go into high volume applications, meaning for consumer applications. And of course, I mean, we see various applications on the horizon, like LiDAR for automotive, for self-driving cars. I think augmented reality, virtual reality is something that is picking up speed, and where we actually can really solve some critical issues. Consumer cameras, I mean, there are multiple applications where we see that our technology is now mature, and we can have even bigger impact.
Mm-hmm. And maybe as a general in the company, how you see the development, maybe from size or products or anything that comes to your mind?
I mean, what is in our pipeline, I will not disclose here.
Of course.
So there are a few things that you can look at our patents, and maybe you get some ideas. Everyone that is curious. But I mean, we are convinced that we will continue growing, and that in 5 to 10 years we will be around 5 to 10 times bigger as what we are currently. So we see the potential. We know that we have the right products and the right team, and now it's more like growing with the customers, and that's actually the good and the bad thing of Optotune. We have many different opportunities, what means that we have really to focus and make sure, you know, that we don't run after all the things at the same time, but that we have a clear plan. And that's the thing that we have to make sure that we implement step by step.
Good. Yeah, many thanks. This was it from my official side of the questions I had. I hope that Bronislav and Hamid had here a good overview about some things that were interesting you. And I'm sure that you have also other questions to Manuel or me.
Okay, I can start if Hamid doesn't mind. I have a few quick questions on technical side, I would say. How much of the focus in the company is on other products? For example, beam steering or prisms that you're mentioning, because there is market for that as well, but you were predominantly speaking about the focus adapting lenses. Mm-hmm. And actually, when I visited your booth at Photonics Fest last year, I saw that was really dominating your products, and of course, it was the most interesting. And maybe another quick question on that side is, you spoke the going to mass production. Does that mean that it's generally the major challenge at the moment, or there are still improvements that you need to do on the design side? Or for example, focus adjusting, let's say, is it a wavelength? Is it the quality of the focus, aberrations, etc.? I don't expect specific details, but just in general, just to see where you are.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the first thing is, I talked mainly about the lenses because that's the first product that we had. But actually, the other products, the 2D mirror for beam steering, the specular reducer, and also the XPR for enhancing resolution, and they're about 50% of our business. So it is not as small as it might have sounded, and there are many really interesting applications also for these. So we are nowadays in most of the projectors, like from cinema projectors to small, tiny little projectors, and also specular reduction. I mean, it is used in various applications, from medical products, you know, where you use laser light for illumination purpose, up to, again, projectors in cinemas and products like that. So actually, It is a big part of our business, and it is also strongly growing, especially because these are still relatively new products. And for us, when we have a product, then the design-in cycle at the customer side often takes like 2-3 years, just because they have to develop the entire system and qualify the system and then ramp up. So that means that basically, some of these products are just at the beginning. On the technical side, what you asked, if there are still challenges, yes, I think, optics, glass industry has been around for a few hundred years, and people have optimized the lenses and how to grind them for a long time. So we are continuing to improve our wavefront quality, and actually made really huge progress in the last 10 years. So, at the beginning, at the moment nowadays, we are as good as plastic lenses that are injection molded. So really the wavefront quality starts to be like below lambda 10s. Depends on the size of the lens, obviously.
And what kind of wavelength range can you cover at the moment?
At the moment, we can mainly cover visible and infrared.
Infrared, I imagine.
Yes. So UV is difficult. So infrared to about 2.5 micron. But it is UV is challenging, and this is actually, besides standardizing our products and our processes. Of course, we are also investing into making our product more versatile, meaning ready for applications that have maybe exotic wavelengths, more exotic wavelengths. Also some applications that are requiring very small lenses, but also bigger lenses. So there's still lots of development that can be done and improvements. And we have a clear roadmap, and we know that over the next few years we can further improve the quality of the lenses, speed of the lenses, and just overall. And the ultimate goal is that the quality is as good as a glass lens, that there is no more difference if you choose a glass lens or our lens, except that our lens offers the focusing functionality, for example. And there is a lot of still challenges for certain applications with the mirror. So on the mirror side, some applications need a very high speed and very high reliability or shock resistance. And these are areas where we can still move and improve.
Is there a good IP protection on different products that you have?
We hope so. We have around more than 70 patent families, so should be good enough. And some very key patents, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
it's not just patents. Patents are one aspect, but a lot of it is just know-how.
Yeah, of course.
What are the right materials? How do you process materials?
And to finish just on the managerial side, is there any particular style that the company follows in managing the projects? And also, you, after working with 180 people and for many, many years, what I see that very often in companies like this, people who are managers actually are coming because of their technical backgrounds, that they need to know a little bit. But that doesn't make them necessarily good managers.
Correct, yes.
What, in your opinion, from your experience after working with so many people and after so many years, what is missing mainly in such a role?
What is it? It is a big transition if you move from a technical role to a management role. And I think you need to have a certain, depending on the function, but for example, if you're a project manager at our company, you need to have a good understanding of technology, because otherwise you don't understand where are pitfalls. So this is critical that you have this. But I think the difference between being an engineer and being a manager is when you manage, you have to anticipate the future quite a bit and try to plan for it. And that's one aspect. And the other aspect is obviously, motivate the people and explain them why you are doing certain things and why certain things are important, and just give them also the context. And I mean, there are many aspects in leadership that sometimes, someone is a great engineer and you think like, oh, he might also have potential, and then you realize that maybe it's not like that. And that's actually also why at Optotune we have clearly the engineering path, so where you can become the expert, and we have the management path. And I mean, as you say, brilliant engineers doesn't necessarily need to be a good manager. And it would be a waste of time and resources if you then put someone like that into a position that where he can actually not outperform. And for us, it's very critical also that, as an engineer, you will have the same level of salary as you have when you are in the management role. Because if you are the lead engineer and you make the right decision, that can save hundreds of thousands or even not millions of Swiss francs.
Thank you for your very nice questions, Branislav. Very good ones. Yeah, Hamid, maybe you have also some.
Yes, so first, thank you for your interesting talk. My question is that, do you see Optotune going in the near future to the direction of using your tunable lens in ophthalmology, using as ophthalmic lenses? Because when like optometer or ophthalmologist wants to examine the eye, beside using autorefractometer, they have this examining eyeglasses when they need to tune and change the glasses. Also, I mean, maybe it's too fancy for end user, but elderly people, they need two different diopters for far vision and near vision, so they have to exchange glasses or use this bifocal glasses, thumbnail bifocal or progressive bifocal. But if it's possible to having eyeglasses with a tunable focal length, it might be really, I mean, interesting. Do you think if it's possible to do it in near future?
The first question regarding phoropter, so that's the technical term of these machines that are actually automatically changing their glasses, is yes, there are systems on the market that are using ours, actually from the absolute market leaders. So it's quite likely when you go to a Fielmann system or a store or to some other big stores, that you get measured by an Optotune lens. And that has been quite challenging, to be honest, because to measure your eyesight, you need to be very precise and correct. And that's actually something that we managed in the last few years to get to repeatability of much better than when you have the different glasses. So the second question regarding vision correction is the technology allows to do this. We think that at a certain point in time, maybe our technology is used for this. But it's not so easy, because it's not just a technical question, but it's actually also an aesthetic question. So it needs to be super lightweight, it needs to be very, very good looking, because the alternative solutions are also not so bad. I mean, the progressive lenses are already good. So yes, I'm convinced that at a certain point in time we will be there where we need to be, but it's not an easy problem to solve.
Okay, yeah, I see. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
so
very much.
thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time. Yeah. And thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Yeah,
bye.
have a good one.
You too.